Another thing to keep in mind is that all of these men and all of these families were related to one another. That is, the city-state or the tribe they belonged to shared genes with them, that common genes with everybody within their clan. Without this imposition of a limit upon individual freedom, in this case individual freedom of choice in the sexual area, civilization would be impossible. In fact, even today, without limits upon freedoms, there is no communal living. And we witness this when law and order breaks apart. We see this in riots, and how the madness of the crowds. And we also see it now in the behavior of females who have been released from morality and from paternalistic controls, and even from the shame of peer pressures. So without this control, this limit upon freedom, order breaks apart, and everything returns back to the primal state of disordering, which is chaos, increasing chaos. Now, a lot of men are attracted to anarchy, especially the younger ones, for this reason, because order is something they find themselves and they are born into. It's not their own. Therefore, like true males, they want to destroy this order in order to replace it with their own. So for them, anarchy is the first step of destruction, in order for them to then build upon the ruins their own order. This is a normal and natural male desire. So right away we see how civilization, at least it's, in its early stages, was dependent upon the control of sexual behaviors, primal sexual behaviors, in both men, but more so in women, because women were the holders of destiny for the entire clan, for the entire. So I want to emphasize this and re-emphasize this for the libertarians out there. Without control, without limits, especially that control induced by fear, there is no discipline. There's no need for discipline. There's no need to self-regulate. And when that happens, then total chaos. The individual thinks he can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. The rule of law dissipates. Everything returns back to total chaos, and civilization becomes impossible. So the question is not whether there should be a limit to freedom or there should be order, but whose order? And this is, of course, where the conflict begins between males in all spheres, in ideologies, in religion, in politics, in nationalism, in everything. It's men competing with other men over who will impose what type of order over the population, and in particular over females. This male-on-male competition, of course, becomes a product of technological advancement, which eventually bites men on the ass. What do I mean? It means when, as male, try to outcompete other males, they innovated more sophisticated weaponry methods of not only control of populations but of battle. And by the weak trying to outdo the stronger through mechanical means, what they created was machines that can be used now by anybody, by woman, by child. So a child now can pretty much kill a man 3 times his size, whereas in the past a man with a sword was a formidable foe that nobody dared challenge without some risk. So now this makes females, with the aid of technology which males provided for them, a force to be reckoned with. This is gradually making men obsolete, because even in the area of reproduction, scientists now could extract DNA from a hair follicle, and a woman could pretty much give birth without a man at all. She can give birth by using even a female's hair follicle. So men have become obsolete due to their own creativity. It's men who are at the forefront of all revolutionary thinking in all areas, in technologies and art and philosophy. Even in the culinary arts, women claim to be stuck in the kitchen for centuries, and yet they cannot produce a chef, a creative chef. Most of the creative chefs are males. So we see that the males, because of their sexual role, developed a creativity that surpasses that of a female. A female is good as supportive element. She follows rules. She learns information. She picks up on things, and then she regurgitates them. She follows recipes that are given to her. So that's why we see now in today's world more and more women graduating. Males don't take to authority; they challenge authority. So, especially today, when the education system is geared towards parroting and recitation with no personal input, it's geared for more feminine psychologies, more effete males. Now we can see that keeping females out of the workforce or subjugated to these lesser males who were once needed but are no longer needed for the same reasons or to the same extent became unnecessary. By freeing females, emancipating them, essentially not from masculine authority, because the state is the ultimate masculine authority, and the religious God is the absolute masculine authority, and all females subjugate themselves to either one or the other. By releasing females from the middlemen, the biological males, not having any longer to answer to them, what happened is the system gained 50% more workforce, or 100%, I should say, more workforce. This increased the potential of the effectiveness and efficiency of the system. This created an interesting situation, since the system, the ultimate masculine entity, the one monopolizing masculinity, is an abstraction. That is, it has no physical form. It is only represented by physical forms, and the representatives could be anything. As I said in other videos, they could be a child, they could be a woman, they could be anything. They still require masculine energy, which is denied them because the system places limitations upon the expression of masculine traits. A man cannot be aggressive beyond a certain point, cannot impose his will, cannot put a woman in her place. He has to run crying to the law like a bitch. Even if a child insults a man today, he cannot strike it. He cannot retaliate. He has to go complain to the father figure, the law officer, the judge, the state. This is an emasculating process. It teaches men that they can no longer be men, and they can no longer be men with all the privileges and all the risks and the burdens that this entails. And as I mentioned before, masculinity essentially has become outlawed, and only certain aspects of masculinity are still permitted, such as the masculine propensity to challenge the dominance of nature upon him. That is, exploring nature and learning about nature and innovating. Everything is geared, all masculine expressions now that are permitted are towards these areas. The blanket protection of the system, the masculine entity, in this case acting as an alpha male, that it offers all the members beneath it, or which are its subjects, has the effect of sheltering. That is, all become courageous within it, knowing that this entity, whether you call this God or a state, watches over them, protects him from biological males. So what we get is generation of untested, retarded children who have no concept of reality because they have no concept of fear and the effects, the self-discipline this forces them into. So they become impressionable and demanding, and makes women prissy and bitchy. And now, becoming fearless, they all have a sense of entitlement. They all think they deserve this and they deserve that, without any merit. They just deserve it because they were born. Take the Christian faith. Just by being born, or actually before you were born, you have a right to life. And yet, once the individual is born, nobody gives a shit about him anymore. You can see this is also a hypocrisy there. But let's return to patriarchy. So as men become obsolete, and the only masculine entity allowed is the system itself, the institution, men become obsolete. They're either forced to behave like females, becoming surrogate females essentially, just like within a wolf pack, the subordinate males acquire feminine attributes. They even suffer a decrease in testosterone, and showing deference to the alpha male, so to speak. So when this happens, females further lose respect for biological males. Because of the uniformity imposed by the system, they begin thinking that being a male or a female is just a superficial designation. It's accidental. It means nothing beyond the superficial. Sex loses also its relevance. Since it's not about procreation, it's about gameplay. It's about hedonism, just about pleasure with no purpose, no consequence, no outcome. Whereas in the past, a woman and a man mated in order for a communal purpose, a common purpose, having a family, passing on their genes, staying true to a lineage, continuing a lineage. And today, sex has lost all purpose, all meaning. And then the very people that advocate the principles and demand certain privileges, causing the deterioration of the family, then bitch about how everything is stale and meaningless and empty and superficial and boring. And then they complain about where all the men are when they've castrated them and not allowed them to be men. In essence, feminists were the death knell of the family unit. They ushered in an age of declining families, where family had to be reinvented, redefined. And now it includes anything from animals to same-sex couples to anything under the sun. You can be anything you want. Absolute freedom, supposedly. So you can be as stupid and dumb and degenerate as you wish. So in effect, feminists cause the demise of the family, which then they accuse men of not living up to their responsibilities. And men, most of them that call themselves libertarian, support the very processes that result in their exclusion and the things they complain about. You have these MRAs, they call themselves, who call themselves also liberals, libertarians, who want freedom for all. So in effect, they want women to be free from the very constraints that made the family unit possible. But then they say they don't want to return to the family unit. So then they bitch about what? That the laws are unfair towards them concerning children. But most of them then claim that men should turn their backs from having children. In effect, becoming asexual or even homosexual in their attitudes. Because what is a man who does not procreate? The designation of man is a procreative designation. Just as the designation of human, of species, is a sexual designation. Let me explain.